Yahuah. All right. Shalom, shalom. All right.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah. We thank the Most High Yahuah for being here today, and we thank Him for allowing us to come out, and gather with one another. The fellowship, not only spiritually, but to break bread as well in the natural. I look forward to these days when I can come out and gather with my brother, my sister, or the Akeem, my co-team. It's just always a pleasure for me to be able to come out and fellowship. And this is a time where and when we should, more than ever before, look forward to meeting and coming together. Because of the times we're living in, we're going to find out soon and very soon how important it is for the nation of Yashra'al to come together and unite. And we just thank the Most High for allowing us to do that. And we thank the Most High for just all the things that He's done, how He's kept our bodies healed. We thank Him for how He's kept us clothed in our right minds. We thank Him for all of His mercy, barakeem that He has bestowed upon us. And we just thank Him for all things. Now, we started a lesson on week before last. We went through some introductory scriptures on a lesson I started doing called Observation of the Times. Now, as Israelites, it's imperative that we are in tune and attentive to our surroundings and the situation, what's going on around us and throughout the world or throughout the earth today. Now, there's so much going on in the world. We see that there are fires all over the place out west, just burning up everything. You see there are earthquakes, just all throughout the land. And we noticed some things even here as of late in the media. And one thing you always have to do is you cannot be an Israelite and not be in tune and have knowledge of what's going on in the land of Yashra'al. That's very important. Now, when it comes to the land of Yashra'al, we can always read throughout Scripture and see where the land of Jerusalem, the land that the Most High chose to set His name upon, has always been a coveted land. That's very important. So when we look at the news, and I think it was back on December 6th, I believe, when we saw that President Donald Trump and the United States, they recognized or begin to recognize the so-called state of Israel as Jerusalem as being the capital of the state of Israel. Now, that's very important because with that, we're going to see some things take place. And when we notice in the past, but it has always been about the land of Israel, you had people occupying Israel. But now, there's a game changer when somebody stakes claim and they make Jerusalem the capital of the state of Israel. Now someone has taken possession of the land or staking claim to the land. So, with that, we really need to be focused on what's going on. And the key to understanding what's going on is realizing, understanding who they are and who you are. Now, the problem with the nation of Yashra'al, or Israel, is we often forget who we are. Because we have been drenched in Western culture, so to the vast majority of the nation of Yashra'al don't even know they're Israel. They don't know it because their history has been suppressed. They speak the language of who? Those that brought them over here captive. They were the fashion of those that brought them over here captive. They're educated by the ones that brought them over here captive. So, with that being said, they have assimilated so into, they have lost their identity. They have become what? As the nations. That's very important. Now, when we begin to look at Scripture, we must pay attention to something very closely. I'm going to ask Nabi Yahuah, if you would, get Daniel 9 for me. Daniel, the 9th chapter.
What verse?
Start at the first verse. Daniel 9.
Ready to read?
Mm-hmm.
In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years whereof the word of Yahuah came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. And I set my face unto Yahuah Elohim to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto Yahuah my Elohim and made my confession and said, O Yahuah, the great and dreadful Elohim, keep the covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servants the prophets, which spake in thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Yahuah, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day, to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against thee. O Yahuah, to us belongs confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. And to Yahuah our Elohim belong mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahuah our Elohim to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Elohim, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judge us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us, yet made we not our prayer before Yahuah our Elohim, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth. Therefore hath Yahuah watched upon the evil and brought it upon us, for Yahuah our Elohim is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obeyed not his voice. And now, O Yahuah, our Elohim, that has brought thy people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and has gotten thee renowned, as at this day we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Yahuah, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city Jerusalem, thy set-apart mountain, because for our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and thy people are become a reproach to all that are about us. Now, therefore, O our Elohim, hear the prayer of thy servant and his supplications, and cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary that is desolate for Yahuah's sake. O my Elohim, incline thine ear and hear. Open thine eyes and behold our desolation, and the city which is called by thy name. For we do not present our supplications before thee for our righteousness, but for thy great mercies. O Yahuah, hear. O Yahuah, forgive. O Yahuah, hearken and do. Defer not. For thine own sake, O my Elohim, for thy city and thy people are called by thy name. You read?
Yeah.
And whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and representing my supplication before Yahuah, my Elohim, for the set-apart mountain of my Elohim. Yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy set-apart city to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most set apart. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Mashiyach, the prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Mashiyach be cut off, but not from himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
All right. There's a lot going on here. Now, like I said earlier, it's very important to recognize what's going on around you concerning the times we're living in. And one thing when it comes to the scriptures, especially prophecy, we will see prophecy repeat itself. We will see things that happened in the past also take place at a future date. And it's very important that we understand the duplicity of prophecy and how things work. Now, when we're looking at Daniel, it's very important that we pay attention to something. Now, Daniel talks about a time when, or a time of the abomination of desolation. Now, when we go down to the 24th verse, It says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy set apart city to finish the transgression and to make end of sin, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most set apart. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem, very important, unto the Messiah or Mashiyach, the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous time. Very important. Now, when it comes to prophecy, we can see where what you're looking at is a day can equal a week. So if you would, we have Moray Casada, Senior Moray Casada, but if he could get Numbers 14 and 34, I believe it is. For our meat bar, Numbers 14:34. And we're going to ask Rob Zakan if he could get Ezekiel 4 and 6.
While Midbar, the book of Numbers, the 14th chapter, verse 34. After the number of the days in which you search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall you bear their iniquity, even 40 years, and you should know my breach of promise. And I, Yahuah, have said, I will surely do it unto all this evil congregation that are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. And the men with Moshe sent to search the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him, by bringing up a slander upon the land. Even those men that did bring up the evil report from the land died by the plague before Yahuah. But Yeshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephaniah, which were of the men that went to search the land, lived still.
That's good right there, Mark. Go back to that first verse. 34.
Okay. After the Numbers, the 14th chapter, verse 34. After the number of the days in which you searched the land, even 40 days, each day for a year.
Stop right there. Even 40 days, each day for a what? A year. So 40 days would equal how many years? 40 years. Okay then, we're going to confirm that, Rob Lacan.
Ezekiel 4, verse 6. And when you has accomplished them, lie again on your right side, and you shall bear the iniquity of the house of Yahuah. 40 days I have appointed you each day for a year.
Okay, 40 days I have appointed you each what?
Each day for a year.
Each day for a year. So prophetically speaking, we can see that a day is equivalent to what? A year. So, when we go back to verse 25, it said, know therefore and understand that from the beginning forth of the commandment to what? Restore and to what? Build Jerusalem unto Mashiyach. Now, we're dealing with a time period here. We're looking at 62 weeks. Anybody know what a score is? 20 years. Good. So, does anybody know at what time was that command given to rebuild Jerusalem? Does anybody remember the reign and rule of the Persians? They had a king by the name of what? The Xerxes. he gave the command to do what? To rebuild and restore Jerusalem. Very important. When he gave that command, it was 457 BC. Now remember, we're dealing with a time period here. Okay. It said, know ye therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Mashiyach, from the time the command is given to what? Rebuild Jerusalem, all the way up until what? The time of Messianic. Very important. It said, the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in what? Troublous times. It said, and after 62 weeks shall Mashiyach be cut off, but not for himself and the people of the prince. Okay, it said not for himself. Now, we find that from 457 BC all the way up until what? 408 BC, that is when what? The work was completed or finished. That's when Jerusalem was rebuilt. The wall was restored. Okay then. So, if you take 434 and you subtract it from 408, what you get is 27 AD. Does anybody know what happened in 27 AD? That's when Mashiyach comes. And he's immersed by Yahuah the immerser. Okay, then all of this is leading up to something. Now remember all of this stuff we're talking about now. Because we're going to say it's very important to observe the times and realize the times you're living in. Remember he said there's nothing new under the sun? He said that which has what? Happened shall be. Is that which shall be has already happened? Okay then. Now, when we go to verse 25, the prince of the people, it's after 62 weeks shall Mashiyach be cut off. And we know what year Mashiyach was cut off, right? That was 31 what? AD. Okay, and so when we get back to verse 26, this is very important. It said, and after 62 weeks shall Mashiyach be cut off. It said, but not for himself. It said, and the people of the prince shall come, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. Who is this prince?
That time it was Titus.
You said that time of Titus. Okay then. Let's go read something right quick. Let's go over to Revelation 12. Let's go to Revelation 12. But before we go there, we're going to ask Rob Zakan, Walmart, if you would, again, get Yahuah 14 and 30. He said, and the prince of the people. The prince of the people. We got to see what's going on here.
Yahuah 14 and 30. Hereafter, I will not talk much with you.
Hereafter, I will not talk much with you.
For the prince of this world cometh.
For the who?
The prince of this world.
For the prince of this world cometh.
And have nothing in me.
And have nothing in me. So who is the prince of this world? Hashatan. Very important. Let's go back and read that again in Daniel. It said, after 62 weeks shall Mashiyach be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince shall come and destroy. Did it say the prince was going to come, or did it say the people of the prince?
People of the prince.
So if we know the people of the prince is going to come and destroy, that means if Hashatan is the prince, is there a people connected with Hashatan?
Yes.
So if we can identify these people, you should know what's going on today. Okay. Get me Revelations 12. Revelation 12. Revelation 12, we're going to ask Shabbat Yahuah, if he would read that for us. Start at verse 1.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and came to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto Elohim, and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of Elohim, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his Malachim fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his Malachim.
And the who fought against him?
The dragon.
The dragon, very well. Let's stop right there. And it appeared a great wonder in Shemayim, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Does anybody know who that woman is? Okay, that's Yashra'al. Okay then, how do we know that's Yashra'al?
Because there are 12 stars on it.
Okay, 12, okay then.
Go back
Good.
to, Genesis and he tells about the dream. And children.
Right. You're right. Now, let's confirm that. Can somebody, Zechariah, will you get Jeremiah 6 and 2? Yahuah 6 and 2.
I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and dedicated woman.
Say it again now.
I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and dedicated woman.
I have likened the daughters of Zion. Who is Zion? Yashra'al. Yashra'al is the woman. It said, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. It said, and there appeared another wonder in Shemayim, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. It said, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of Shemayim, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to deliver, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Now, very important. Who is this that stood before the woman to devour her child as soon as it was born? Her son? Or was it the people
The people of
of
Hashatan.
Hashatan? Okay then, shall I get Matthew 2, start at verse 1 for me.
Now when Yahusha was born in Bethlehem,
Stop right there. Now when Yahusha was born,
in Bethlehem of Yahudah, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem,
behold, Herod the king. Go ahead.
saying, Where is he that is born king of the Yahudim?
What did Herod say?
Where is he that is born king of the Yahudim?
Where is he that was born king of the Yahudim? Go ahead.
For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him.
Now these are the wise men speaking, but go ahead, we're going to see something.
When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Mashiyach would be born. And they said to him, In Bethlehem of Yahudah, for thus it is written by the prophet, And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Yahudah, art not the least among the princes of Yahudah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people, Yashra'al. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search diligently for the young child. And when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Miriam his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of Elohim in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way.
Read that again. Being warned of Elohim in a dream. Now remember, Herod said he wanted to do what? When they found the child?
He wanted to come worship.
He wanted to come worship. Right. Go ahead, read that again.
It says, And being warned of Elohim in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way.
Elohim, Yahuah Elohim told him, don't you return where?
To Herod.
To Herod. Now, who was this man?
Herod.
Waiting to what? As soon as the woman's child was born? Now, you see, it was the Roman Empire who were the people of the prince.
Right.
That's very important. Didn't I tell y'all? It's very important to understand where you are and who you are today.
Yes.
What is Western culture called? Is it not called Greco-Roman? Do you see all of these same Roman deities, Greek deities erect in the earth today? When we saw the first desolation of the temple, we go back to Maccabees and read that. Who was ruling at that time?
Greeks.
The Greeks. What culture did I say we're living in?
Greco-Roman.
Greco-Roman. Did he tell you there's nothing new under the sun?
Yep.
That which has happened shall be. That which shall be has already happened. So, when we look at this, it's very important to understand what's going on today. What y'all don't understand is what happened last week with them declaring Jerusalem the capital of the state of Israel. That marked the beginning of their end. This is what sets everything. Now, things have been moving all along, but this is what really sets the ball in motion. Because this is the time now where someone has actually staked claim to the land in which the Father has placed his name upon. When we go to Zechariah 12, what does it say? And Jerusalem shall what? Matter of fact, let's go to Zechariah 12 right quick. Starting at verse 1. Senior Morika Salaba, could you read that for me? But his voice carries very well.
Zechariah, the 12th chapter, verse 1. The burden of the word of Yahuah for Yashra'al, said Yahuah, would stretch forth the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth, and form the spirit of the rock of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Yehudah and Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. In that day, saith Yahuah, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness. And I will open my eyes upon the house of Yehudah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Yehudah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, or Jerusalem, shall be my strength, and Yahuah of hosts their Elohim. In that day will I make the governors of Yehudah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheath. And they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. Yahuah also shall save the tents of Yehudah first, and the esteem of the house of Dawood, and the esteem of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Yehudah. In that day shall Yahuah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as Dawood, and the house of Dawood shall be as Elohim, as the messenger of Yahuah before him. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of Dawood and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the rock of the esteem and supplication, and they shall look upon me, whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadarimam in the valley of Megidian. And the land shall mourn in every family apart, the family of the house of David, of Dawood apart, and their wives apart, the families of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart, the families of Shimeon apart, and their wives apart, and all the families that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart.
Hallelujah. We thank Senior Morika Salaba for that reading. Now, what we see here is, you see a pattern here. It says, the burden which stretched forth the heavens, or Shemayim, and laid the foundation of the earth, and formeth the ruach of man within him. He said, behold, I will make Yerushalayim, or Jerusalem, a cup of trembling unto all the people round about it. Now, he said he's going to make Jerusalem a cup of trembling to all the people round about it. When they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Now, what we see is, he said, and in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut into pieces. Now, what did the Mashiyach, or what did the Most High say what happened when Israel entered back into the land?
Shall be peace.
He said, shall be peace, and they will be what?
Dwell in safety.
Will dwell in safety, and they will be at war no more. Now, we supposedly have had Israel to enter into the land back in 1946, and it was declared a state in 1948 by way and under the Balfour Treaty, or the Balfour Declaration. Now, we know for a fact that ever since they have been in the land, or the people that have entered into the land, has there been peace in the land?
No.
They have been at war since the very time they stepped foot in the land. But what did he just say here was going to happen? He said, Jerusalem shall be what? A burdensome stone, or a cup of trembling to all the nations about it. Anybody who tries to possess the land, guess what? They're going to have problems in the land. If you don't believe me, ask the Assyrians. Does anybody remember what the Assyrians did during this, when they possessed the land?
Yeah, they bring back the priest to teach them how to live in the land.
So what happened before they brought back the priest to teach them how to live in the land?
They was attacked by animals.
Weren't they attacked by the lions and the slimes and stuff, start eating them up and stuff?
Yeah.
Because why?
They didn't know how to serve the Lord.
They didn't know how to serve Yahuah, because first of all, they weren't the people of the land. Remember, the land is connected to the people. The people are important to the land. It's two things the Most High said he placed his name upon. The people, and he placed his name upon the land. Yerushalayim, Yashra'al. They both carry his name. And what we will see here is it's very important to understand what's going on in the land. So let's look at Luke 21 and 20 right fast. Luke 21:20. We're going to ask Koti Shai if you would. Lucas or Luke 21:20. I'm about ready to sit down.
Luke 21 and 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies,
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies,
then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
then know that the what?
Desolation.
Desolation thereof is nigh.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereunto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
Okay, then read that again. Okay, we're going to stitch it off.
For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
Okay, we're gonna get Matthew and Yahuah 24:15. Koti Shema, if you would.
All right, now throw out.
Yes, sir.
Please. The book of Devarim, the 28th chapter, verse 49, just about 3 or 4 verses here. It says, Yahuah shall bring a nation against these from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of your cattle, and the fruit of your land, until thou be destroyed. With also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy walls, in all thy gates, until the high and fenced walls come down therein. Thou trustest throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all the land which Yahuah thy Elohim hath given thee.
Hallelujah.
What was that again, Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy 28th chapter, verse 20.
Now notice he said, when you see Jerusalem, what? Compassed with armies. When did this take place?
70 AD.
Y'all remember what happened in 70 AD? This is what happened. Remember that was what has happened, shall be, that which shall be has already happened. 70 AD, you saw this take place. So now again, did we read Matthew 24 yet? You got it? Oh, Shema, that's right. Go ahead, Torti, I'm sorry.
Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place.
When you see what? The abomination of desolation. Now, remember, that had already taken place when? During the Maccabean era. So we're many years where? Past the Maccabean era. So therefore, this is going to take place when? Again. That's why the focus is on the land. Now, what has taken place within the past few weeks with the land, this is a setup for what? The temple to be what? Rebuilt. It's moving everything forward. Now, what you're going to see is, I don't know if y'all been paying attention to the media, they haven't been showing over here. But when you go watch, what's it, Al Jazeera, the outside news that actually give you footage of what's going on in the land. The day they declared Jerusalem the state of Israel, all, you know what, broke loose over there. But you didn't see any of that footage on our news, the media here. You didn't see any of that. They went crazy. And I don't know if y'all know, do y'all not know that some council of Arabs, they have been writing letters to Israelite congregations saying that they're not going to support that and they're going to defend and stand for who? The black and brown Israelites who actually have lineage and connection to the land. And they said this at a council before. What's what is her name? Is it Vicky? I forget her name. That might be wrong. She's the ambassador for the U.S. over in Israel. I can't think of her name right now, but they even told her, regardless of what you say, those people don't have any connection to the land. And they immediately start writing black Israelite congregation in the United States, saying that we're not going to accept that. We're going to be in support and defend the black and brown Israelites. And it's crazy because everybody except us on this side, they know who we are and recognize who we are. Because one thing I can say is, you have to be very careful when the people that conquered you oppress you, they're the ones who are telling you your history. Because what they say, the victor is the one who writes history. It's always going to favor him. Now, you ever notice in the school, the public school system, how when it comes to the transatlantic slave trade, they never start with the slaves before they got on the ship. It's always about once they got on the ship and brought from Africa to America. But these same people, they were bought from another group of people. With the transatlantic slave trade, it's recorded that they brought their slaves from who? The Arabs. The British and the Portuguese during the transatlantic slave trade, they bought their slaves from the Arabs. So if we know they bought their slaves from the Arabs, that means the slaves had to have been what? In captivity under the Arabs first. But you notice they never teach you about the sub-Saharan slave trade. That's purposely done. You know why? Because the records of the Arabs during the sub-Saharan slave trade, they did not keep it or make it a secret of who they had in captivity. They always told you they had the people of the book. Matter of fact, the British and the Portuguese refused to buy slaves at first. They wouldn't buy slaves. They thought it was one of the most humane things that ever happened to mankind. They would not purchase a slave. It wasn't until the Arabs actually showed them in the scriptures, in the record, that these people are supposed to be enslaved. That Elohim has turned on them, and this is the punishment of the people to go into captivity. And they told to show them that these are the people of the book. So if you go read the book, were the Arabs wrong? Not at all. And so that's why they never teach you the history of the sub-Saharan slave trade, because what? Once you find out and you're able to identify the people, guess what? It's all over. It's a wrap. Now check this out. If you can go back and study and read the Maccabees, and you can see how Antiochus, or some people say Antiochus, I call Antiochus, how he sent out a decree that what? All of the Jews be what? Put to death if they caught what? Circumcising, keeping any of their traditions, or doing any of the things associated with their culture. He said, for we, the people, shall all be as one. They shall be what? All be Greeks. Very important. So if you're all Greeks, guess what happens when you grow up speaking the Greek language? Grow up wearing the Greek fashion? Going to Greek university, being educated by the Greeks? Guess what you're going to call yourself? Greek. Greek. Very important. So, so it's very important when you see that, you lose your identity. You lose your identity, so now instead of calling yourself Yashra'al, you're calling yourself a Greek. So when Shaul says there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek, it's easy to look at that and like, okay then, get confused. But you know that wouldn't be so, because when you read this book, now when we were talking about Artaxerxes and his rule, what nation or kingdom was he the king over at that time? The Persians. Hey, you know, the both kingdom united. We call them Medo-Persian, but we can say Persian to be politically correct. Now, that's very important. Y'all don't find it strange that when we read in Malachi, that whole time period, you're dealing with the Medo-Persians. That empire, that rule. That's the last book in the so-called what? Old Testament. What kingdom, when you get to the New Testament, are you dealing with? The Romans. Do y'all think that it was mistakenly left out of the canon, the Apocrypha, especially the Maccabees? Now, that's very important. Guess what happened when you leave that time period? Remember we were talking about Artaxerxes and the Persians. You don't jump straight from the Persian rule and then about all the way to the Romans. Now, with the Greeks missing, or the history on the Greeks, guess what happened when you get to the New Testament? The same thing happened today, because the exact same thing was happening with them assimilating into Greek culture. Have we not done the same thing?
No.
We've assimilated into this Greco-Roman culture. So now, had they left that portion in the canon, guess what you will be able to do? You will be able to observe